And the broadcast is live. Phil Tarrant, Tom Panos, Real Estate Exposed, live on the interweb, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, across all those channels, connecting with Tom Panos and REB. Real Estate Gym members, welcome. I know you've had a big year, and I was only chatting with Tom offline about some of the great work these real estate gyms are doing, real estate gym members are doing, particularly as we enter this new market, Tom, with softening house prices and rising interest rates, which is going to be a dominant discussion for us over the coming financial year. And we've got a market, Tom, the 30th is the 6th, is the last day of the financial year. Do you reckon most agents have had a good one?
I think they've had their best financial year in many years. I think, Phil, even though we've had a bit of a slowdown in the last, 3, 4, 5 months, depending on what part of Australia you're in. Some markets, of course, are totally unaffected. Gold Coast is an example of one where, nothing's really changed, and various parts of Queensland, not so much Brisbane. So to answer your question, yes, absolutely, it has been, because you've got to remember, most of the numbers have been done. If the market changes, you've still got good contracts and settlements that are taking place. There's always a lag. And the real estate agents that I work with, the real estate agents I speak with, and Phil have basically said this was just the surprise of surprise. Just when you thought with the COVID we were going to fall off the cliff, people ended up having their best years ever in real estate. But that's not going to continue this financial year. I think most people have already forecasted and budgeted that they're probably going to do a little bit less, mainly not because of price falls, but more to do with volume decreases. Phil,
give us the numbers, Tom. I'm a facts and figures type of guy. What percentage of real estate agents are going to have a better year in FY23 than what they've had in FY22?
I'd be surprised if more than 10%. I think most of the real estate industry will have a year lower than the previous year. Now, I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to say, Panos is supposed to be a motivator and an optimistic trainer that says the sky's the limits. I'm a practical business person, and I believe in having smart, realistic, achievable goals, not things that are going to demotivate you. And I can say to you, Phil, that 10% of agents probably will have their incomes go up because they've probably made a decision that they will do whatever they can do to win market share against other people. Phil, it's really basic. Like, the bottom line is, if X amount of properties sold last financial year, and then you've got X amount minus 20% that sell this financial year, you've got less of the pie. So you turn around, you say, what are my options? Option number one is I increase my commissions to make up for the lack of volume. Option number two is that I go off and I steal market share from other competitors. But that takes the assumption that you haven't been playing all out the previous years, right? That makes the assumption that you've held something up your sleeve, and all of a sudden you're going to go off and execute and win market share. And winning market share is achievable, but it does take time and it does take effort. But the big advantage, Phil, is there are agents who are mentally devastated, and some of them are becoming invisible. Actually, some of them are traveling overseas for 2 to 3 months. So that gives the hardworking agent that's got a strategy of increasing market share a little bit of an opportunity, because their competitors are softening in this market. They're becoming invisible.
So as we wrap up FY22, we're moving to FY23. We're talking about predictions for the financial year ahead. Okay, 10% of agents would do better. That means 90% of agents are going to take a haircut this coming financial year. Let's do another fact, Tom, stats, figures, your sentiments on it. Percentage drop in the number of agents operating in Australian real estate, FY22 versus FY23. We're going to see an exodus.
Total guesswork here, Phil, total guesswork. But my number would be that somewhere between 10 and 15%, I would say. And that happens. And the reason why it happens, Phil, is when the market's going up, people jump into real estate. When the market's going down, people jump out of real estate. So you've got this constant 10, 15% of what I call real estate backpackers, right? They come in, right? They're not going to be there permanently, right? You just know it. They've been attracted to the money. They've watched the $1 million listing. They've watched Lux listings. They got posters of Gavin Rubinstein in their bedroom, and they're thinking to themselves, I'm going to be like that. They go into it, starts getting a bit rocky. Properties aren't selling. Vendors are saying, I'll keep it. They start struggling with that cold conversation, and they think to themselves, you know what? Maybe it's not meant for me. This is an ongoing thing that's been happening. I'm in Byron Bay as we speak right now. I was talking to someone this morning. He says, this is the typical Byron Bay thing. Market starts getting hot in Byron Bay. Everyone jumps in. Market starts cooling. People leave. But you've always got this central hub of people that are long-termers, sustainable people. They live through high seasons. They live through low seasons. And they build a business to a level where feel that they'll always get by because they've earned the right to repeat business from people. So actually, many of them are looking forward to it, Phil, because they've basically said, hey, here's a chance for us to actually increase our commissions and stand out in this marketplace. So the answer is 10 to 15% will probably go back to working at a shopping center or driving an Uber or going back into a family business. Yeah,
okay. Next prediction, Tom. Death of auctions 2023. I hear rumblings that you auctioneers are becoming redundant.
So the Australian Financial Review ran a good story yesterday saying that the data showing that up to 30% of properties are being cancelled prior to auction. And most of these properties are being cancelled because there's no buyers on them. So they're withdrawn from sale. And that vendors are going to start ascertaining, should I go to auction, when you've got a high level of cancellation rates and you've also got a lower clearance rate. So here's my advice. And people are going to turn around and say, this guy's biased because he's an auctioneer. I actually think right now, auction is more important than in a hot market. And the reason why is this. If you look at the statistics from the Real Estate Institute, SQM, CoreLogic RP data, any source, they will show you that when the market turns, the auction clearance rate does go down, but the amount of properties that actually sell during the agency agreement of that property is half days on market of auctions versus private treaty. And the reason why is this, Phil. There's a large proportion of property in a changing market that are sold the day after the auction to 14 days after the auction. So that 2-week period post-auction, you've got all this activity on these auction properties that didn't sell. Why do you get this activity? You get this ongoing negotiation with the highest bidder from the auction that couldn't come to a result on the day of the auction, and they're missed in the clearance rate, right? They're missed in the clearance rate. The other thing that happens is you get a vendor who might have been chasing a lottery figure that comes to reality at the auction, and then the next thing you know is you've got them readjusting their number to meet the market, and the property gets sold like the week after auction. So I would say, Phil, now is the time that you move towards auction because it's got a deadline date. There's so many private treaty properties on the market at the moment, Phil, that are just lingering. They're in the stale zone. They're just sitting there. There's no activity. The owners are saying, just leave it there. Whereas with an auction, you're sending a message. I'm a serious seller. So a serious seller attracts a serious buyer. That's the added plus of auction. So I don't agree the death of auction in a changing market, Phil.
Okay, thanks for clarifying this. So another trend prediction for FY23, Tom, a lot of principals are going to start focusing on their rent roll now that sales volumes are down. Is that going to happen?
Absolutely. And another reason is owners of real estate offices are clapping because they're pushing the rents up again. Their landlords are saying, hey, listen, I'm paying a little bit of a bigger interest rate. I want this to be passed on, and it is being passed on. Whether you like it or not, I'm telling you, if you are a tenant, you're probably going to be getting a rental increase if you haven't got one already, because the vacancy factor is going down, the cost to the landlord is going up, and the landlords are sort of saying, hey, I've taken a big haircut the last 2-3 years. I've often cut my rent due to COVID. I've had the lowest rent I've had in many years. Now's the time for it to go up. So a lot of the business owners, Phil, are saying their rent roll now is even more important because of the reduced sales income. And the rental income, of course, when you're getting 7% and you push your rents up and your rents are more, say $50, $70 more a week, you're getting 7% on the increase as well. So absolutely.
Okay, good. Now, Tom, I know you're a big data guy and you love looking through realestate.com for all your latest info on properties, but you're connected in. You love the ABS. We all know census data has been revealed the last couple of days or so. So much in it. We can pick through it. We could probably break down some facts, but I've been following you. I think your Sunday night rant, you did a 2-part rant, and it is a rant. That's what people like it, around why most real estate agents only earn a certain amount of money and they should be earning a lot more. Well, census data, Tom, is in, and I want your sense of it and how this applies to real estate. The richest Australians, so there's about 25 plus million people in Australia, less than half of all Australians work. So the other half are kids and the retirees and for those people who can't work for whatever reason. So half the nation, or less than half the nation, is actually generating income. Now, the richest Australians, 1 million of them, Tom, earned $3,000 or more a week, which is $156,000 a year. The most common earning in Australia, and this was about just shy of 2 million Australians, earn between $1,000 and $1,300 a week. That's between $52,000 and $64,000 a year. The middle, Tom, is about 1.7 million Australians earn between $800 and $999 a week, which is $41,600 to $52,000. And the lowest, which is just shy of about 1.7 million, earn no weekly income. So the middle income for Australia, $41,600 to $51,948. How many agents are earning those sort of dollars?
I'd say nearly all of them. I mean, that level. And Phil, that level, the number you've given us, I presume, is a national average.
It's a national average. It's all of Australia. It's not any. So the richest, $156,000 a year. The most common, between 52 and 65, and the middle is between 42 and 52.
Phil, I've got to tell you, I'm gobsmacked. I'm gobsmacked listening to those figures. I didn't think it would be I just didn't think it would be as low as that, you know. Well, it just goes to show, you know. And again, you know, you've added figures there, you know, from areas like North Queensland, and they've probably been put together in with Metro Sydney and Metro Melbourne. But regardless, Phil, I have to tell you, most real estate agents would be earning, I would say, double that, particularly in the last 12 months. But yeah, Phil, I mean, what's your, like, was those numbers surprising to you? Or is that what you thought is happening?
I think for me, it's the relevance and probably the understanding that the world that you might live in, if you operate in professional life in Australia, is probably very different to how the rest of Australia actually lives. And to me, it's a sage reminder. You know, I think anyone who operates in real estate or mortgage broking, let's call it the collective property industry, we're very fortunate that we work in such a vibrant sector, despite the fact that it goes cyclically through challenging periods. And we've gone through it, the start of COVID, then the COVID period, and now we're into a different market. But a privilege to have a job in Australia. What a privilege to be able to work in an industry that's so robust. What a privilege to work with people who I would like to think are out there excelling and shining and contributing. But to me, it puts it in perspective of how a lot of other people live. And you've got to sit there and just go, some of your challenges probably aren't that significant of challenges, if that makes sense.
So as you're talking, Phil, I was just visualizing the incomes that you've spoken about, 40, 50 grand. So, you're earning that. You're paying tax. Like if you're earning $1,000 a week, right? You're paying tax, Phil, of, I would probably say $300 thereabouts. So you're left with $700, $650, $700. And then I'm just picturing you live in Australia, you're on your own, you've got to get rid of either a mortgage or you've got to get rid of rent. And once that's done, you've got to pretty much pack the rest of your life in there. We haven't even bought a bottle of water as yet, right? We haven't even bought a cup of coffee. Now, Phil, it's a very good reminder and a reference point. And I come from the world. I come from a world where my father worked in Moxon Road and was earning maybe $250, $300 a week. Of course, it needs to be adjusted for CPI now. But Phil, earning $250, $300 a week. I'm trying to remember back then, like it mattered. I remember how my parents would make a decision at a shopping center on whether they should buy something based on price. Now, a lot of people would never walk through a shopping aisle making decisions on putting essential items into their trolley based on price, right? They just pick them up and put them in. And it's a reminder, as you said, to everyone that's working in financial services, in real estate, that is fortunate, even in a bad year, to be making double the numbers that you're talking about, Phil, right? Double. I mean, most real estate people are making at the moment over $80,000 a year, right? I mean, there are people, and we're going to talk about them later on towards the end of our stream, where REB agents were recognized in the Daily Telegraph, and they're earning like $4 million, $5 million, $3 million. No university degree here, by the way. No university degree, and we're talking about the true sales hunters out there. But very interesting, and a reminder for us to be grateful if we're fortunate enough that our life has helped us to move in the direction of real estate, mortgage broking, professional services. We should never take it for granted, and we should not complain if we have a year that's not as good as the last year, because we're still probably doing better than most.
And to give some sense for it, the real estate agents, and you talk about Lux listing and $1 million agent. They're talking about the aspirational properties that only a handful of people are ever going to be able to afford. Most real estate agents operate at that level where they're servicing middle Australia. So the people who are earning these salaries, the people, which is most people, according to the numbers, are the people who are transacting property. And you need to put some sense around how important it is as a place where they capture and retain their wealth, the transacting of property, and therefore the role of the agent as a supporter of the vendor or supporter of the buyer. This is where we operate. This is where we operate as an industry. And you put all the bells and whistles around the fancy stuff, but most property in Australia is average. There was a whole bunch of information in the census, and for anyone, you go and pick through it, there's oodles and oodles of pages around it. The average size of mortgages in Australia, and the impact of rising interest rates, this environment that we're in right now. So I don't know. I like it. There's a lot of stories out of it. You'll see more on realestatebusiness.com.au. But Tom, you speak about these top performing agents, and I must admit, we probably undercooked me and you this year, putting a big focus on the REB Top 100 Agents, which is the benchmark ranking for agents in Australia. We went through it when it came out. We gave some sort of anecdotal insights into it, but the Daily Telegraph, Tom, I know it's a guess you call it a newspaper, the close to your heart. You're still probably one of their most popular writers for some reason. Saying it as it is, I think you use this actually, Real Estate Exposed, to get all your ideas, what you're going to write about on the weekend.
Actually, not just Real Estate Exposed specific with you, Phil.
It's but look, it's great to see this. There's a big write up in the Daily Telegraph, and thanks to our friends over the Daily Telegraph for giving this focus. It's good stuff, right? This is the aspirational. There's New South Wales top 50 selling real estate agents for 2020 revealed. The deal makers behind record price boom. Tom, they say they're the rock star real estate agents in luxury cars and designer clothes who made a mozza during last year's record boom in house prices. Go and check this out. Top photo, Tom. You don't see him a lot. He's not that, I wouldn't say he's not that flashy a guy. Alexander Phillips is here, who has been declared Australia's top real estate agent, over $1 billion in sales. Pictured here in Bronte Beach, and you can see he's sitting there going, "Oh, I don't really want to get my photo taken. I'll get this done. I'll probably want to get on the phone calling people." Whenever I've spoken to him, he's always thinking about his next call, I reckon.
Look, a true professional real estate agent, and look, I don't know him that well, and I don't know what car he drives, so I won't comment on that article. But he's made a mozza, and he's made a mozza for many, many years in a row. And he's a very hard-working agent that is known as being the guy that it's really hard to beat people that won't go to sleep. It's really hard to beat people that just make one call after the other. I mean, you'd hate to have him as a competitor, because you know that even as you're sitting there thinking about him, he's got a mobile phone glued to his ear talking to someone. You know, that's the competitor that you hate to have, right? One that just doesn't stop talking to the market. But I'm curious, was there any? I mean, that article was about 2 weeks ago. I remember seeing it.
Yeah. Well, let's go through go and check it out, everyone. But let's go through some of the photos here, and we'll use that as a bit of a talking reference. Abode property agent Suzanne Hibbert was one of the Shire's top agents.
Well, when I read the article, I remember thinking to myself, I've never met Susan. I've never met her. I've never interviewed her. Another BP quiet achiever. Just didn't realise the magnitude and the impact she's got in the real estate market in the south of Sydney. And well done. And again, fantastic. A model for any female out there that thinks to themselves, hey, is it possible? 100%. She's proving it.
Yeah. Ray White agent David Walker. Nice photo of him here at a property. The top-ranked North Shore agent said the COVID lockdown boosted sales.
Good guys come first. He's a good guy. Him I know very, very, very well. I speak to him every week. He's the son of Dr. Ross Walker, the famous TV medico that goes on all the Today shows and 2GB radio. Out in Wirrunga, owns multiple offices, he's told me he's had a cracker. But you know, he doesn't meet that category. He doesn't have the flash car and the flash suits, and he's learned, throw your money into family holidays to rejuvenate you, because if you can stay rejuvenated, you can stay in this industry longer, and that's what he does. A combination of that and pretty much exercise every day.
Yeah, it's really funny. The top performing agents, and this is quite New South Wales specific, because it is a Daily Telegraph, New South Wales rag. But you see it right across the REB top 100 agents right across the nation. The best performing agents typically aren't the flashiest. They're the ones that you need to dig a bit deeper to actually know. The Sothersby agent, top performing agent here in New South Wales, you'd never pick it, right?
Now, he's appeared on Lux Listings only as a guest cameo, Michael Pallier.
Yeah.
So it's a really good point, Phil, because I actually think there are agents who are working their butt off, listing and selling real estate, and there are agents who are spending their time looking like they're a good real estate agent. Totally different focus. One's out there hunting, the other one's going into car showrooms looking for a car upgrade. One's sitting at a restaurant having a 3-hour meal. The other one is eating at their desk in between phone calls, right? Two different types. And I never assume the $5,000 a suit agent with the Maserati is one that's doing all the sales. Never assume that anymore.
Yeah, no, good. This is your heartland, Tom. Inner West real estate agent, Dib Chidiak. I think I got that right. Founder of Dib Chidiak. You see a good photo of him here. Looks like he's selling property.
Dib Chidiak is an extraordinary story because I never thought Dib Chidiak would become as successful as he is. I started doing auctions and training at Dib's office 10, 15 years ago. And he was a little young kid, a little bit awkward. But I just saw him get in early, work harder, stay later, and it compounds. That's the thing about work. It compounds. 1 year layers into another year. And hey, he's doing that out of Cabaret to Concord. He set up his own independent brand, and I've got to hand it to him. Good luck to this young little kid. Dib Chidiak, outstanding.
He doesn't look that young or little anymore.
Oh, well, there you go. You know, I remember him as a 22-year-old. He's thinned up a little bit on his head. He'd probably be, oh, look, you know what? He'd probably be Dib Chidiak. I'd say he'd be 40 now. There you go. He'd probably be 35, 40. I knew him as a 21-year-old kid, you know.
There you go. Oh, look, here's another good photo here. Real estate agent Michael Clark with agent wife Cherie Hummel. Dominate the Manly area, don't they?
Not the cricketer Michael Clark.
No.
But I tell you what, he probably earns more than Michael. Oh, no, Michael Clark, the cricketer, he's done pretty well in life, become an ambassador, does a bit of media work. I'm sure he does well. But Michael Clark, the real estate agent, mate, I think he's number 2 in the REB, isn't he? Or number 2 or number 3.
He's up there. He's always up there. But Alexander Phillips, he's going to be hard to shake. And I don't know how that's going to happen. Another photo here on this Daily Telegraph story. Tom McClay Longhurst started in property management before moving to sales. He's around Paddington Way. Do you know him? I
don't know him, but I do know the office that he works for, Breshik Whitney, and I know Shannon Whitney, and I know a number of people that work in that business. They're a $1 million factory, that Breshik Whitney establishment. They produce a lot of agents, and he works the Paddington area. I think Paddington and Darlinghurst, around that area, and does incredibly well. I can't remember. Someone told me he writes 4 or 5 million in GCI. Again, these numbers, man. When I look at the census data, and I'm looking at these real estate agents that you're talking about, Phil, you know what? Guess what? Even if the market halved and they were making half the money, they are still doing really well.
Yeah. Another photo here. Jennifer Carr from Lewis Carr, Tom.
Jennifer Carr, again. I've asked
38-year industry veteran. Pennant Hills way, West Pennant Hills.
Yeah, West Pennant Hills, very successful, strong business. I've asked her to speak at ARIC quite a few years, but she's just nervous about it. She just doesn't want to do it. She's not a stage person. She doesn't like having the limelight on her, but she loves doing a deal. And, form is temporary, class is permanent. She's been a long-termer. Like, if you go and have a look at her, she, year in, year out, she's in the grand final, you know? Yeah.
And the final photo here on this story on Daily Telegraph, David Highland, founder of Highland Property, 25 years in the industry.
Yeah, extraordinary guy. Probably has in the top 5 businesses of Australia at the moment. Massive business. They got hundreds of staff, and he's actually opened up a second office in Double Bay now. Took over Bill Malouf's office in Double Bay. So that guy's in absolute growth mode. But Phil, here's the thing about those articles. I think they're great in the sense that they actually show people what is possible in real estate. The downside is that there's a lot of young punks that are flipping through the Telegraph that are probably not having done too much in their life so far. And they sort of see these stories and they look at the numbers and they start visualizing the cars and the great clothes and the restaurants. And they come into real estate what these articles often don't cover is the daily routine of these people, right? Because people want to be like them, but I don't think they want to pay the price of them. Two different things, right? And I think a lot of people feel that come into real estate, mortgage broking's the same. They're interested, but they're not committed. Big difference. They're interested, but not committed. The ones that you just spoke about, they're all in. It's like Texas Hold'em. They've thrown their cards in. This has got to work, right? I'm all in. Great story, but REB is the NRL AFL ladder for real estate in Australia. It doesn't matter whether you're a franchise or an independent, whether you're working as one of these models that you work out at home, or whether you're working in a big office. People know that, hey, there's this competition. It allows everyone to enter. It doesn't matter what part of Australia you're in. There's a formula there. And every year we get to see, who the winners are. And you've been very smart enough to actually create some sub-awards by location, which allows people to test their own ability based on their own markets. And they're your state awards.
Yeah, and it seems to work, and it's resonating pretty well. Tom, we've got 12 hours and 15 minutes left of the financial year. We're looking towards FY 2023. Any other bold predictions for us for the coming financial year? And we'll check back in 12 months' time and see how close you are. I don't have predictions. I just report the facts, mate. That's my job.
Here is my prediction. Real estate buyers are going to have a one-off opportunity to overcome all the stress they've had for the last 3 years. And that's going to be in September, October, November. There's going to be a melting pot of a number of interest rate rises that have blended into an oversupply of listings that hit the market in spring. And I think if you're a buyer, you're going to have this window of opportunity to have multiple properties to look at. And if you're lucky enough, you might get one of your low offers accepted by a desperate vendor. I think that once that period is finished, Phil, normality is setting back in. The craziness of this fear of property prices falling off the cliff is starting to ease. I've noticed that I've had one of the common words I'm hearing from real estate people in the last week is it looks like it's stabilizing a little bit, right? Bless you. So, Phil, I actually think that good buying opportunities, second part of this year, and I actually think any drops that has been reported by the media by the end of this year, most of those drops would have come to realization, because as far as I'm concerned, the drop already started come January at the start of this year. It'll probably filter through to the end of this year, and I believe that we're going to see very little price falling after that. That's my personal view. It's on video, so we can come back to this and say, hey, you were right, you were wrong.
There's a handful of people who I would ask that question to, because I think they've been in real estate long enough to actually have an informed opinion on it. Another person outside of you would probably be John Mcgraw. I'd ask him. I know you chat with him quite regularly. What's he saying? What's he seeing?
Look, I haven't spoke to John for 2 weeks. We do a podcast together, and we live not far away from each other, so we meet up. I haven't spoke to him for 2 weeks, but he's always got the view that the biggest correction, his view on changing markets is the biggest correction he's seen in his whole career has been a drop of around 18 to 20%, and that drop got picked up again within 2 years after the drop. So he believes that worst case scenario is you get a 20% drop, but you ride it out, because over a 2-year period, it climbs back to where it was. So again, great news if you're someone that buys real estate and is a holder of real estate and not one that tries to buy at the bottom and sell at the top.
Well, speaking of that, how's your Bitcoin portfolio, Tom?
Started with 0 and I've got 0. So I'm doing better than a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of people hurting there.
What about you? Are you a Bitcoin person?
No, I don't have any digital currency. in the portfolio. I just, mate, I dabble on the share market, and that's been painful enough, let alone cryptocurrencies.
Beautiful post I saw Warren Buffett in a 30-second video on TikTok. He just said, listen, I want to understand it, but I can't understand it. I look at it and I think to myself, how does it produce anything? Where is the value in this? I think it's all smoke and mirrors. They were the words of Warren Buffett.
Anyway, there you go. Well, I think to your point, what you mentioned, sort of probably paraphrasing John Mcgraw, real estate in Australia is a long-term asset. I think it's grown by, 6.5% every year since we started recording the numbers in terms of capital growth. So, it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people, but no doubt everyone tuning into this is somehow connected in with real estate. They're either a sales agent, property manager, or a mortgage broker. I think 1 in 8 Australians, Tom, and maybe it'll be in the census data. I haven't dug through it properly yet, but I think 1 in 8 Australians is somehow connected professionally with property in Australia as their job, whether they're sort of tradies or builders or whatever. So it's a big part of the economy.
Absolutely. And that's why I always think we're pretty safe, because the government wants to look after people, and it's very mindful of the contribution real estate and the related services to real estate have. And we're very lucky that we live under that sort of environment. Phil, absolute pleasure. End of the financial year. We begin our profit and loss reports, start tomorrow morning at 0 again. Another 365 days to tick it over. And I'm not too stressed. The highest form of wealth is health. As long as we're sitting here in 12 months' time talking and we're healthy, we would have got another year over. You get your high seasons, you get your low seasons, you get your mountains, you get your valleys. You get your stormy periods, and then you get your sunny periods. Don't get too connected to it, everyone, because it's not staying the way it is. Whether it's good or bad, it's always moving. Phil, fantastic. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Tom.